In our discussions, we often explore narcissism to understand its nature and the behavior of narcissistic individuals. This understanding helps us protect ourselves from abuse and avoid falling into toxic relationships in the future. One of the challenges in dealing with narcissists is their ability to leave someone abruptly, without an apparent reason. This behavior often stems from their desire to control or overpower the other person. To avoid becoming entangled in toxic relationships with narcissists, we need to learn how to interact with them appropriately. This includes maintaining clear boundaries, communicating openly, and avoiding the traps of manipulation that narcissists often employ. Due to a lack of understanding of how narcissists think, we may feel confused and perplexed when they exhibit inexplicable behaviors. Therefore, it is essential to consider the situation from the narcissist's perspective and try to understand the reasons behind their actions. Such reflection can help uncover the motives behind a narcissist's behavior. While narcissists often share similar traits and interaction patterns, there are subtle differences in their approach. Their primary objective is to feed off their victims emotionally, draining them until they are entirely depleted, before moving on to a new victim to continue fulfilling their psychological needs. One of the critical topics we address in our discussions is marital relationships. Some wives, for instance, report being abandoned by their husbands without a clear reason after a short period of marriage. This behavior is often attributed to the narcissistic traits of the spouse. In some cases, a narcissist may return after a while to re-engage with the victim, continuing to inflict emotional damage without offering any explanation for their actions. When a narcissist leaves a relationship, they are not truly alone. Instead, they seek psychological nourishment from other relationships. During this time, the narcissist remains unaffected by the separation, while the only one suffering and struggling is the other person, the victim. There are various reasons behind a narcissist's behavior, primarily their insatiable need for psychological nourishment and self-validation. Narcissists constantly seek attention and affirmation, leveraging different relationships to achieve this goal. When a narcissist returns to a relationship after a period of separation, it is usually driven by their ongoing need for validation and psychological supply. It is not because they genuinely love or feel emotionally connected to the other person. The victim, after being left by the narcissist, may experience feelings of failure in the relationship. However, the truth lies in the narcissist's relentless pursuit of their psychological needs. A narcissist might consider returning after the separation, but this decision is driven by their craving for more validation, not by genuine love or emotional attachment to the victim. Victims often grapple with various explanations for the narcissist's departure, but the underlying reason is the narcissistic nature of the person. When the narcissist returns, it is again to fulfill their need for psychological supply rather than out of a true desire to reconnect emotionally or romantically. From the perspective of the average person, understanding the narcissist's behavior can be challenging. The events may seem inexplicable, leaving the victim in pain and confusion, especially since narcissists are skilled at masking their true intentions. Narcissists are highly intelligent and adept at crafting a facade that they use to interact with others. This mask allows them to manipulate their environment and maintain access to the validation and psychological supply they crave throughout their lives. Because of this behavior, the victim must understand that this is the narcissist's lifelong pattern of interaction. It allows them to drain everything from the victim before feeling discomfort in the relationship and ultimately leaving it. Over time, the narcissist starts to feel uneasy in the relationship, sensing that the victim no longer provides what they need. At this point, they abandon the victim without any clear reason. The separation may last for a year or more, leaving the victim in shock, confusion, and intense emotional pain. During this period, the victim often tries desperately to contact the narcissist, hoping to understand the situation. However, narcissists frequently ignore calls, messages, or any form of communication, showing complete disregard for the victim's feelings and needs. Victims must recognize that this is the nature of narcissists. They view the victim solely as a source of validation and psychological nourishment. They do not genuinely care about the victim's feelings or needs. It is crucial for victims to avoid further interactions with the narcissist and seek support to overcome the pain caused by such relationships. Indeed, narcissists are indifferent to the emotional harm they inflict on their victims. During the separation period, the narcissist controls the situation entirely, managing it to suit their desires and convenience. It is clear that narcissists maintain a strong attachment to their victims, as they view them as essential sources of emotional supply. However, they do not completely sever the relationship but instead partially disconnect, ensuring they can return to fulfill their needs without experiencing the pain they inflict on the victim. Victims must understand that narcissists treat them as mere objects, akin to a resource they can exploit whenever needed. This dynamic causes significant emotional pain and trauma, leaving the victim vulnerable to further exploitation if the narcissist decides to resume the relationship. We must all acknowledge the profound damage narcissism inflicts on its victims. Narcissists must be approached with extreme caution, and victims should refuse to allow them to control the situation. Seeking adequate support and safeguarding one's well-being is vital for victims, ensuring they regain control of their lives. When narcissists leave their victims temporarily, they seek a new source of supply in their lives. During this stage, they become emotionally engrossed with the new victim, dedicating their time and energy to establishing control over them and turning them into their next target. When the narcissist is confident they have secured a new source of supply, they often return to the previous relationship to ensure they maintain control over all their sources simultaneously. This prevents the victim from having the opportunity to think about ending the relationship or separating completely. Thus, narcissists constantly seek new sources of supply to meet their needs while keeping existing relationships intact, ensuring they lose none of their sources or connections. This scenario is repeated frequently with victims, employing the same manipulative tactics with each one. When a victim does not understand the narcissist's nature and methods, they may find themselves in a state of confusion, struggling to comprehend what is happening, unaware they are dealing with a manipulative narcissist. Narcissists often use their mask to escape accountability, providing no explanation for their absence. They may even present themselves as the victim or blame you for their decision to distance themselves from the relationship temporarily. Blaming others is a core trait of narcissists, and for those familiar with their behavior, this is unsurprising. When the narcissist returns, they attempt to appear normal and balanced, claiming to have realized that the relationship was not suitable for them. However, narcissists live their entire lives in a cycle of manipulation, deceit, and control within every relationship they form. Even after leaving a relationship, they tend to return quickly, perpetuating the same toxic and abusive patterns. Interestingly, no matter how long a narcissist's success and manipulation persist, their mask will eventually slip. Their true nature and manipulative tactics will be exposed, revealing the reality they worked so hard to conceal. Narcissists go to great lengths to maintain a flawless image, never wanting to appear flawed or at fault. They strive to portray themselves as innocent, even amid the harm and manipulation they cause. A narcissist is deeply self-serving, employing deceitful methods to manipulate others. Their primary concern is avoiding criticism and maintaining a faultless image. Relationships with narcissists are always transactional. They engage only with people who they believe meet their needs. They do not love others. Narcissists only love themselves and what others can offer to sustain them. As mentioned earlier, narcissists do not understand or experience love in the traditional sense. For them, love is merely a means to satisfy their desires and obtain what they want, no matter the cost. If a new source of supply fails to meet their expectations, narcissists may suddenly return to a former victim. While the reasons for this may not always be clear, their return is driven by the need to secure their psychological supply, not genuine affection. Over time, they may revisit past relationships to retrieve old sources of supply that they deem suitable again or require for their needs. Narcissists often end relationships when they perceive a victim as unsuitable or if the victim requires care or support, something narcissists cannot provide due to their lack of empathy. They need all the attention for themselves and will abandon anyone who cannot fulfill their requirements. The end of a relationship with a narcissist rarely means they have completely let go of the victim. They often return when they find the victim suitable again or when they need to reclaim old sources of supply. During periods of separation, narcissists monitor their victims. If they notice improvements in the victim's life or achievements, they may attempt to re-enter their lives to exploit them further, seeing the victim as a fresh source of supply ready to be drained again. Narcissists are exploitative by nature, readily discarding victims once they are deemed useless. It is essential to recognize that you hold value to a narcissist only insofar as you provide something they need. Without that, you mean nothing to them.